A suggestion by U.S. President Trump that he might impose tariffs on film content produced outside the U.S. could have rather big implications in Canada. Reynolds Mastin is president and CEO of the Canadian Media Producers Association. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Amanda.
So it's not the first time he's mused about this, and that's all it is so far. But what does it do to the industry when you hear this? How chilling is it?
Well, every time there's this injection of political instability, it's never welcome, Amanda. There's always concern that it might depress investment in the industry. But so far, I have to say, it's business as usual.
So that's very good news, because that was going to be one of my next questions, is just the very threat of this. Has it made people who might have produced here turn elsewhere? Because the first time he said this was, of course, sometime like 6 months ago. You haven't seen any reaction to the first threat?
We haven't really, though what has now become very clear, Amanda, is that the Trump administration has a two-pronged attack when it comes to the Canadian movie and television industry. One is this threat of 100% tariffs, which, if we understand what he's proposing, would impact Hollywood productions that are shot in Canada. Mm-hmm. The other threat that he is making is pressuring the Carney government to abolish the Online Streaming Act, and that is directly targeting our Canadian industry, film and television for Canadian shows and Canadian movies.
So, and obviously two separate things, and who knows whether this is part of a negotiation ploy. Just characterize for us how big this is. I mean, I know it's billions in contribution to GDP. It's tens of thousands of jobs. It was hard to know what any impact would be, but how healthy is the industry right now?
The industry is recovering. We have actually seen an example in the recent past, Amanda, of what happens when the service part of the industry, the Hollywood production part of the industry, suddenly disappears. Because a couple of years ago, there were two big strikes in Hollywood, the writers and actors strikes. And when those happened, that part of the industry literally shut down overnight. And what kept people working north of the border were Canadian productions, Canadian movies, Canadian films. And that's really what enabled us to keep going as an industry when service production stopped. And that's why it's so critical that we have a balanced portfolio of production, a strong service side, yes, but also a strong domestic side as well.
And of course, we talk a lot about diversification in other sectors. I'm sure that there are international producers who come here because of the natural splendor of this country, because it can mimic a lot of places. Should we be working harder to attract the Europeans and the Asians and the Latin Americans?
Well, one thing that Canadians do exceptionally well, including in our industry, is partner. Mm-hmm. So, little known fact that Canada has 53 co-production treaties with countries all over the world. One notable exception is the U.S. And those treaties have enabled Canadian producers to partner on co-productions, whether it's with the U.K. or France, right, or any other number of countries, to produce here in Canada and in those countries. And so that is also a part of that sort of balanced and diverse production portfolio that's really important for the health of the industry.
So good to have you for this, Reynolds. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Amanda.
Reynolds Mastin is president and CEO of the Canadian Media Producers Association. Time for the takeaway, and this is your brain on AI. This week, OpenAI hatched an agreement with Canada's Shopify and also the specialty shopping site Etsy to make one-stop shopping through ChatGPT available, starting in America, but no doubt swiftly coming to a device near you. The idea is blindingly simple. As more and more consumers rely on the computing power of AI to help them make decisions about purchases, well, why not help them make the purchase itself? It's as if OpenAI realized it was leaving a whole swath of the dopamine hit left unattended. So rather than its platform being an unbiased tool for measuring the value of one item or service against the other, it might now come preloaded with bias and presumably offer up the products first that are available on its partners' platforms. The publicly traded shares of both Shopify and Etsy popped higher on this news, and why not? By aligning themselves with one of the emerging leaders in search, as well as one at the forefront of so-called agentic AI, they create a huge advantage for the businesses on their sites. That, in turn, will give them market and pricing power, though for now they say the merchants will pay a small fee and the buy now option will be free to users of ChatGPT. Maybe it sounds cranky, but the idea that we humans need an even faster route for our need for consumption feels like the wrong path. Never mind the ways in which people who are already become addicted to the technology may also slip seamlessly into shopping addiction. Maybe a little friction between us and whatever thing pops into our head isn't a terrible idea. But then again, these are the kinds of questions best asked by lawmakers and regulators, if only either group seemed on the ball or empowered enough to do it. My takeaway? This partnership reminds me of the spandex rule. Just because you can get into something does not mean you should. That's Taking Stock for this week. I'm Amanda Lang. Thanks for being with us.